Hello everyone. My name is Ives van Hoorne. My name is Ives van Hoorne, which is quite hard to pronounce even in the Netherlands. So you can also call me Ives, Ives, and my friends call me Lip for some reason. Yeah, I'm a software developer at an auction website called Catawiki, and I'm a computer science student at the University of Twente. You can find me on any social media under the name Computives. So, today I will talk about something that I built 1.5 years ago, I think, and it's called Codesandbox. So, who of you have heard of Codesandbox before? Okay, and who of you have used Codesandbox? Okay, this is good. Nice. Okay, so I first want to tell you the story of Codesandbox, how it came to be. So, about 2 years ago, we were on vacation to a village called St. Ives. And you can probably guess why we went there, because my name's in it. So, at that time I was working full-time for an auction website called Codesandbox, and I was converting the Ruby on Rails pages to React. And we did this with a team. And while I was on vacation, I got questions from my coworkers about React and about some NPM dependencies, but I didn't have my MacBook with me. So what happened is they sent me the code in Slack, and I had to put the code in my head, in my Ives interpreter, and give them back the probable answers that I thought would be solutions, but this didn't really work. So that's when I started thinking, what if I have my local development environment everywhere? And the follow-up question was, what if I put my local development environment on the web? So I got this idea, but I started going to university, and I started doing student things and going to parties and lectures. So I didn't have much, I didn't work on it really. But I started to feel a bit unproductive because I was not building anything anymore, and I reached the peak of unproductivity when I started getting Java lectures. At that point I thought, okay, I have to do something better with my time. And so that's when I started with the design. And I first called it React Sandbox, and luckily I changed it later to Codesandbox. And it was pretty simple. So you just have code on the left, preview on the right, and you have some buttons there. And I was already pretty happy with this. So the next Java lecture, I started implementing the code. And I remember taking this screenshot because I was so proud of it. It was like, you could just edit the code on the left side and it would update instantly on the right side. And I was super happy, so I got more enthusiastic. And I started working on it in free time. So here we got already a more advanced version. You have tabs here where you can even import from tabs. I'm not sure if I can zoom. No, I cannot zoom. But you can import from tabs, and we had a navigation bar on the right. So it was getting more and more advanced. And the cool thing about this concept is that this is just an editor and a preview, and you can build as many features as you want on top of it. So I just kept adding more and more and more features. And at some point I thought, well, maybe this is actually useful for other people. Maybe I'm not the only one stuck on St. Ives with a MacBook, without a MacBook. So that's when we decided, that's when I got my friend Bas to join me, and we released Codesandbox. So let me quickly show you what Codesandbox is, because this is pretty vague. Okay, so this is Codesandbox, and it's just like your local editor. You have code here, and you have multiple files, and you also can add NPM dependencies and such using either UI or changing the package.json. Is it big enough, by the way? That's pretty big. But the new thing here is this preview on the right, or you can put it on the bottom, or you can decide to put it right here. But the new thing is the preview, and when you change code, you see it updating automatically in the preview as well. The other cool thing about this is that everything is executed in the browser. So the bundler lives in the browser. So if I would, and this is always very tricky, if I would lose connection, so I turn my Wi-Fi off, and I change some code, I change this to, welcome to your one hand swiping, then it still updates. So everything works locally. So when we released Codesandbox, it was apparently many more people were stuck on St. Ives because it was getting quite popular. And one of the biggest feature requests that we got was view support, because at the beginning we didn't have view support. So I thought, okay, this is possible. We will probably get this in a weekend. I was super wrong. It took me like a month to build in Vue support. Because the thing is, when you have Vue support, you automatically have like Sass, less, stylus, CSS modules, and TypeScript support, because the .vue files can use those. And we wanted to support everything. So I had to rewrite our in-browser bundler to make it work with Vue. And I will explain how the old bundler worked and how I rewrote it to the new bundler to make it work with Vue files. So the old bundler was super simple. The editor and the preview are two separate applications. And when code changes in the editor, it sends the files as code to the iframe, to the preview of the bundler. And it was very simple. So it received some code, like import hello from JavaScript. We transpiled it using Babel, so the browser could understand what comes out of it. And then we just evaluated it using eval. And everyone tells you not to use eval, but I built a whole website around this concept. Quite tricky. So, but the cool thing, the new thing here is that you have a require function. So we stuck the require function, and when this require function is called, we just do the whole flow again. We resolve the require statement, we resolve the code, and then we evaluate the code again and transpile it. And it was super simple. So this is how the whole bundler at the beginning worked. And it worked pretty well, but it had some limitations. The first limitation was that everything needs to be synchronous. Because require statements are synchronous, you expect the result back immediately. So if you have like a transpiler that cannot transpile in a synchronous way and has an asynchronous response, then you could not use those transpilers. And for example, Sass was asynchronous, which made it a problem. The second one was that there is no parallelization. So if you have like 5 files to be transpiled, we need to wait for every file. It's better if we just transpile every file in a separate web worker, so we can just have faster bundlers. The third one is there is no support for emitting modules. This sounds pretty strange, but I think everyone has seen this now. When you have a .vue file, it actually exports a .css file for the styles, a .js file for the template, and a .js file for the script tag. And we didn't have support for like getting one file to 3 files. And the last one is there were no change loaders. So if you had like a Sass file and then you wanted CSS modules out of it, we had to like get Sass to CSS and then to CSS modules, and that didn't work as well. Actually, the bundler was super limited, I found out. So I rewrote the bundler, and it's a bit more sophisticated now. When you start with the files that's sent to the bundler, we determine which files are actually used. So we check for every file which require statements are in there. And we do that beforehand already. And then we only transpile the files that are used in an asynchronous phase. And we do this using web work. So we transpile only these files. And after that, we evaluate the code. So then we evaluate just, so we have like 2 different phases. We have the transpilation phase, which is asynchronous. And then only when the transpilation is done, we start evaluating it. And this actually worked pretty well. And that's when we got Vue support. And I want to show you the release thing of Vue support, because we have a cool homepage with the Vue thingy. So you have these cubes, and then you have a nice cube, like a Vue cube. And I worked a week on this, so I need to show this at every different talk I do. Yeah, we also have support for Angular, React, and if you go down a bit more, you see more kind of support for English. Yeah. When we released Codesandbox, we got like lots of feature requests. So because we're open source, we get lots of issues from people that they want stuff. And we decided to set out 3 values to like measure every feature request. Like how important is this one for us? The 3 values are lower the learning curve, encourage sharing and discovery, and give a local editor experience trademark. So I want to explain every value and how we implement a feature to like accommodate for that value. So the first value is the lower the learning curve. And let's imagine you're this person standing there, just starting out with Vue development and just had a simple application. So this person built a single file application, which sounds really fancy, but it's just an index.html with a script tag with Vue in it. And now this person wants to go to a more advanced level and have like multiple Vue files. But then they can get overwhelmed with all the different tooling that's already available. You start asking questions like, what are build tools? Do I need transpilation? What are tests? It can get a bit overwhelming. And though we have the Vue CLI, someone first needs to find this Vue CLI before they, and it really helps with Vue CLI, but it can still get a bit overwhelming. And only after you've learned which concepts you need, then you can start to see the sun again and be really happy with Vue. I should have put a face of having you in this sun. That would be so cool. But yeah, that's and it can be quite overwhelming. And with Codesandbox, you can just go to codesandbox.io/s/vue, and you already have a whole project set up. And then you can just start editing the text, and then you see a live update on the right side. So it's very easy for you to get started. And then when you think that you want to take it a step further and do local development, you can just press download, and you get a zip file with the whole Vue CLI around it. And then you only need to run yarn install and yarn start support at the end, and it works. Dan Abramov had a quote, configuration should not stand in the way of getting started. And I altered the quote to, installing tooling should not stand in the way of getting started. But this is not the only thing that we do. Because with Codesandbox, we're in a kind of unique position because we know everything of the user. It's pretty weird to say this on the GDPR day. I mean, we know all the files, we have control of the files, we have control of the editor, and we even have control of how the code is executed. So we can do much more than just give like fancy errors. So for example, I have this interesting counter, and it doesn't work because there are some problems. So the first thing that you can see is these squiggly lines, these orange squiggly lines, which is, so Vue has thrown a warning here. And sometimes when I'm doing Vue development, I don't see those warnings because I don't have my console open on my browser. So in this case, we show them on multiple places in Codesandbox. So in the file that has this warning, we show these squiggly lines. So when you open it, you see property or method increment is not defined. And we also show it here. Oh, it's shown double this time. Well, that's even more clear. So the simple fix to this is like change this to increment, and you can see that the squiggly lines are gone. Now with the implementation, because it still doesn't work. So I'm not typing this fast. If you do like this, oh, there it was wrong. Counter plus 1. So this also won't work because this is undefined, but I want to show you the error. We show like an error that is in the code. And you can see that we show the error here, and we also show the error like here. And you can also see the compiled code is very similar. So if I change this to this, it should work. Yeah, now you have a working counter. But I'm a millennial, so I should probably use a library for adding numbers. So if I add roll dash, you can see a new error. And this one is special because we know which packages are installed in the project. So when we detect that someone imports a package that's not installed, we can give suggestions. So in this case, we have to suggest a solution, add load.js dependency. And you can just click on it, and it will add load.js dependency. And if I now change this to the more proper form of doing JavaScript development, you can see that it still works. So these are the kind of ways that we try to help with when people are just starting out. We sometimes transform errors to make it easier based on the knowledge that we have. Oh, we're going too fast. Oh no, it's okay. And the second thing that we do is interfaceify everything. This is a really weird word. It's a word invented by me. So, and what I mean with this is we try, like people can get quite overwhelmed with like command line tools, and if you need to do a configuration and you need to change code, which is pretty bad. And in our case, when we have a configuration, we for example use the UI to so that you can alter the configuration. So you can change this, and you can still see the code, but it's we're using a UI for everything. And we also do this for example for installing packages, you can just see all packages, you can search. For example, I want to have Vue loader, then you can select a version, which is a bit faster. People are graphically driven species, so it's easier to have like an interface for everything. And there is also something really cool built by Ives. I'm always using usernames. So it's the new Vue CLI will get like a UI to configure the project. So you have like a UI for starting, creating new projects, managing projects, configuring projects, and this is really useful. I hope I can zoom in on this. No, I can't. Okay, let me zoom in on this way. So, for example, this one, in the Vue CLI, you can have a UI for ESLint configuration. And this is really cool. I'm really happy that this is happening. How do I make this big again? Oh yeah. The second value is encourage sharing and discovery. So, sharing is already pretty obvious. When you have like a sandbox project, you can just share your URL with someone else, and they can make edits and fork it and continue. Discovery is more interesting because people are building sometimes real projects on Codesandbox, or they share examples with each other. And so we have like a gold mine of projects that you can find here. So we have a cool search, and in this search you can, for example, filter on Vue, and then you can filter on like Vuex in combination with Axios, for example. And now you will see all projects that use these two dependencies. So if you ever need to find an example of a library or something, you can just go to the search and find any kind of library that has this. And we currently have about 35,000 Vue projects, so there's probably something you'll find interesting here. We also support embed, so if you have a cool sandbox that you want to show someone, then you can just embed it anywhere you want. You can also embed it, for example, Medium, and people can also play with it in line. So, for example, let me do a better example. Like if I change this file, and then they can just play with it without leaving your website or your documentation. The Vue documentation also links a sandbox for single file components. And we support importing. So let's say you have a project already in Vue. You can import them in Codesandbox in multiple ways. So the first one is import from GitHub. If you take the last part of your URL from GitHub and paste it after this, you will get a sandbox back that's synced with the GitHub repository. So as soon as you make a commit on GitHub, then it will also automatically update the sandbox. And you can also, from Codesandbox, you can also make commits to GitHub, so you won't have to leave your browser to make commits. The second one is import from CLI, or maybe it's better to export from the CLI. You can install Codesandbox locally, and then through codesandbox./ and you'll have it deployed. You get a URL back with your sandbox. And we have an API, a defined API. And that's just a post API where you can send multiple files and then you get a sandbox back. And this is especially useful for documentation because documentation tends to like create personal demos when people are playing with the code on the documentation. The last one I want to talk about is local editor experience. And there are multiple reasons to have local editor experience as a value. The first one is that when people start out on Codesandbox and want to go local, we don't want to have any friction between the online editor environment and the local one. They don't need to like learn a new environment. The second one is people build applications with Codesandbox. That's really cool, and I like to encourage people to do so. And the last one is when people are giving workshops, they like to also, for example, give demos about Jest. So it's important to have, for example, Jest support, or they want to have like GitHub integration. So that's also one reason to do it. And one of the big reasons that it's a local editor, that it looks like a local editor, is because of the Monaco editor. It's Visual Studio Code extracted like the Monaco, the core editor, to the browser, and everyone can use it. So you get some really cool free things with it. Maybe I can show you in a very quick way. For example, if I do, yeah, you can see all the different types of Vue has. We automatically download all types with all dependencies. So maybe this also works for, I'm not sure. So that's one cool thing about it. You can have like, you can see all the different properties that you can have. So, and we also have Vtour is converted to Monaco Vue by Pang, and that's why we have like cool stuff here. For example, if you have, if you for example create a new file like a.vue. Oh, then I'm forking it actually. I forked it. It's no problem. Then I can say like, oh, I want to have a scaffold with SCSS, or I want to do a full scaffold. So you get the things that you also have in your local editor. And some other things. In January, we released Codesandbox 2.5, which has a huge range of new options. And one of the things that we have is, for example, that we have ESLint for view files. So if you have double keys. We will show it will throw an error, but we will also show an ESLint error, and in normal files it also happens. We'll say, oh, there's an assigned value but not here. We also have support for jest tests. So if you open this one, you can see all the files with all the jest tests. And you can maybe make some changes and then run the file again, and you can see, oh, this is this part is expected this to be equal to this, and you can also see it here. That's one way. And recently we also announced Codesandbox Live, which literally allows you to do Google Docs type of editing at the same time with each other. So if you want to like work together on a Vue project at the same time, you can. I can quickly show you. You can open a live session here, and then you can share this URL with others, and they can join the session. And you can even say like classroom mode, where if you open up classroom mode, you can specify who can edit. So this is really useful for workshops as well. Yeah, it's pretty hard to demo it right now. I'll just wait if people can join later. I'm not sure. And I can also give one quick demo here of, for example, exporting a project to GitHub. So let's say I have this interesting counter, and I have this GitHub thing. I can like say like, oh, I want this to be nice counter. I can click export to GitHub. Now it's using this cool animation. I worked on this one also very long. I like to reuse lots of the animations though. So now we have a new sandbox, and this is a sandbox that's like synced with the GitHub repository. So now we can see that we have a nice counter, and that you have like multiple files here with the Vue CLI projects around it, and you can even make like changes to. Make like a change here, save it. It will create a fork because, and then you can say like, oh, I want this to be committed, and it will create a commit with the changes. You refresh this one, you will see pop, and you will see the change of the text align right here. So this is the end of my talk already. I want to thank the contributors. If you're interested in contributing to this project, you can check our GitHub repository and open issues and pull requests. That's really appreciated. And then I will add you to this list of at the end of my talk. And yeah, thank you. You can find me on Twitter there.
Thank you.